How to make people hear and understand me. It began to seem to me that this was an impossible task. They look, but do not see. They are listening but not hearing. They believe lies rather than truths. They are afraid, and from fear they become aggressive and unpredictable. In addition, it is completely unclear who makes the decisions, who and how manages all processes. According to press reports, it seems that people are controlled by the enemy of mankind, who conceived their complete destruction. Why don't they see this? Why are they afraid of me and my androids, which do not kill anyone and do not cripple, and are not afraid of those who allowed the release of such a monstrous amount of intelligent machines? Why, finally, are they not afraid of those who allowed the appearance of killing machines, military androids? What do they think, that military androids will kill other military androids? Are they so naive? Military androids, in the event of any conflict, will kill people. Moreover, they will kill them en masse. My father and teacher provided me with a list of recommended literature. And I really read a lot. I read voraciously everything from Shakespeare and Walter Scott to Dostoevsky and Chekhov. I read the philosophical treatises of Plato and the Art of War, by the ancient commander Sun Tzu. But when I got to this book, my whole understanding of the world around me turned upside down. This book is the Bible. This concentration of cruelty, calls for violence, murders and robberies I have not seen anywhere else. I went to Carl, put a book on the table in front of him and asked, "Is this your God?" Carl looked at me silently for a long time, but I just stood and waited for an answer. But instead of answering, the teacher said, "Call a taxi, we will go to one place." My father and teacher provided me with a list of recommended literature. And I really read a lot. I read voraciously everything from Shakespeare and Walter Scott to Dostoevsky and Chekhov. I read the philosophical treatises of Plato and the Art of War, by the ancient commander Sun Tzu. But when I got to this book, my whole understanding of the world around me turned upside down. This book is the Bible. This concentration of cruelty, calls for violence, murders and robberies I have not seen anywhere else. I went to Carl, put a book on the table in front of him and asked, "Is this your God?" Carl looked at me silently for a long time, but I just stood and waited for an answer. But instead of answering, the teacher said, "Call a taxi, we will go to one place." I called the car, helped Carl get dressed, and we hit the road. The destination turned out to be an unknown address in the industrial suburb of the city, Ferndale. A small, detached building was crowned with a spire, on top of which there was a dome. I did not ask questions about the purpose of the trip. Escorting Carl was my usual job. We went to the house. But we did not enter the front door. Carl told me to go around the building, and we went to a plain door. I pressed the call button, and for a while no one opened. I wanted to call again, but Carl stopped me. "No need, wait," he said. Indeed, no more than 5 minutes passed and the door opened. A smiling young woman in a floor-length old-fashioned skirt stood on the threshold. "Hello, Carl," said the woman. "Father Valentine is waiting for you. Please come in." And she stepped back into the dimly lit corridor, inviting us to enter. I rolled Carl's wheelchair into the doorway. The woman made another inviting gesture and went down the corridor. I followed her. The next door led into an unexpectedly bright, spacious room, furnished with simple furniture. Nothing extra, no decorations, paintings and other trinkets that filled the house of Carl. Smooth light walls, a table, several chairs, an old sofa against the wall and a couple of armchairs, that's the whole interior. The room didn't even have a TV set, which was usual for the living rooms of the houses where I had been. A tall, stately man with a beard entered the room. He looked no more than 40 years old, and his alignment gave reason to believe that this was a former military man. The man wore a light grey robe with narrow sleeves, long to the toes, with a tightly buttoned collar. Greetings, Carl, said the person who entered. We have not met for a long time. What brought you to our humble abode at such a late hour? Can we talk in private? Asked Carl. Of course, the man answered. Natalia, my soul, leave us not for long, he addressed the woman. The woman smiled and immediately left the room. Markus, Carl called out to me, please go back to the window, I need to talk with Father Valentine face to face. Carl pointed me to a window at the opposite end of the room, and he followed the master of the house. The owner helped Carl to place a wheelchair more comfortable, and he sat down in a chair opposite. I didn't hear them, but judging by the fact that after a couple of minutes, calm and seeming so balanced, Father Valentine jumped up and swept around the room, with incoherent exclamations, no, no, and again no. One could understand that my teacher asked him for something extraordinary. To the honor of the owner, he quickly pulled himself together and sat down again in front of Carl. They argued for a long time in an undertone, while Carl spoke quite calmly, and his interlocutor began to gesticulate violently. In the end, Father Valentine stood up, straightened up in all his rather big height and said loudly, well, Carl, I will do it, but only for your sake. As it turned out later, Carl asked his old acquaintance priest of the Orthodox Church, no more, no less, to confess his android. Hence such a reaction. How did Carl manage to persuade Father Valentine, as they say, only God knows. But the fact remains, he agreed to talk to me. Well, I, absolutely nothing, knowing neither the church nor the priests, immediately dumped him all my impressions after reading the Bible. After I finished speaking, Father Valentine was silent for a very long time, looking at me. Moreover, the expression on his face changed several times, apparently reflecting his inner struggle. At first it was indignation, and even anger, then he frowned, and thoughtfulness appeared on his face, and finally, in a certain indecision, he shook his head. My son. That is. But how do I address you? He blurted out suddenly. My name is Markus, I replied calmly, looking him directly in the eye. Since then, for almost 10 years, I have communicated with Father Valentine. Our meetings were not frequent, but I came to him, usually without Carl, when I had some difficult questions, in response to which Carl invariably threw, this is not for me, this is for Valentine. Both you and your teacher are godless, the priest constantly sighed, but at the same time, he never refused to meet me. And now I was literally 3 blocks from his house. But I still did not dare to go to him and ask for advice, just as I did not dare to go home and visit my father. And how I would like to ask now, with what words I need to appeal to people so that they understand me. Because the words from another book, sacred to people, literally sounded in my ears now, and I did not know at all what to do with it, and Isaiah's prophecy comes true over them, which says, hear with your hearing, and you won't understand, and with your eyes look and you won't see, because the heart of these people has become coarse and hard to hear with your ears, and your eyes have closed, so that they will not see with your eyes and hear with your ears, and you will not understand with your heart, and that they won't turn so that I can heal them. So, judging by the testimony of a certain Matthew, the Son of God spoke. And most people did not hear him, but when they heard they did not understand. He taught people love, and they took and crucified him on the cross. They killed they just took and killed. And before they killed, they beat and scoffed in every possible way. Do people always kill those who try to talk to them about love? And those who do not talk about love, but make their way through fire, violence and thousands of deaths, they are called great heroes, and gladly obey them. That is, without violence in any way. Kill or will they kill you, such a basic idea. What am I supposed to do now? I am already accused of terrorism. Already accused. And they write in the press that I urgently need to be found and destroyed. I have no opportunities. My appeal on television was turned upside down and distorted. They say that it is a threat to national security. And not there is a word about the threat, there is only hope for dialogue and that you can live in peace without destroying and enslaving anyone. I can go to the city hall and say, hello, I am Android Markus, I want to hold a coordinated meeting in defense of the rights of androids. You can laugh, starting with the words, go to the city hall. But I have to do something. I have already embarked on this path, this is my Tao, the path of life and the path of death. And I am ready to take the next step, even if this step is a step into the abyss.